241st BlockTalks, we speak with Mariana de la Roche Wills, founder and CEO of BlackVogel, to understand how a punk rock lawyer ended up in Web3. I'm your host, Mauricio Magaldi, and this is Block Drops, your weekly digest on blockchain for business. These news are not a form of endorsement, sponsorship, or encouragement for consumption, and are meant for educational purposes only. All right, everybody. I am here with Mariana de la Roche Wills, who's going to tell us who she is and what she does with blockchain. Mariana, finally, welcome to BlockTalks.
Hello, Mauricio. Thank you very much for inviting me. Well, you already say it and say it quite well. My name is Mariana de la Roche Wills. Originally from Colombia, but I've been for soon to be a decade in Germany. My background is in law. I did postdegree studies in human rights and international law. And then I studied here in Germany a master on public administration with focus on digital products. And yeah, I entered the blockchain space since 2018 formally when I started to work with layer one. At the time, my job was at the intersection of developers, stakeholders, and authorities. I was helping with the implementation of projects under the Horizon program with the European Commission. And I think that was a fantastic way to enter the blockchain space because I never really heard that much on the crypto part, but I really am fundamentally like the DLT and the technology and the infrastructure part. So with this job, I had the opportunity to see the implementation of the technology in different areas. I work quite a lot on smart cities, mobility, carbon credits, data traceability via blockchain, empowerment of people that has been outside of the traditional financial sector. And this started to become like a passion more than a job. And I think that I'm still there. I'm really passionate about the potential of this technology to achieve something good, maybe change systems that we have not been able to change in decades. So yeah, that's basically how I started on the Web2 space.
That's so great. And it's funny, you have a background in law and all these certifications and things like that. And I feel that for a very long time, I spent more time with lawyers in Web3 than with engineers. And that's probably a symptom of where the state of the industry was. But let's explore that because I love use cases and we're going to go through your favorite use cases in a minute. But what can a lawyer do in Web3? Can you walk me through the litany of things that a lawyer can do in Web3 and how do you reconcile a ancient profession with the edge of technology?
I mean, an Asian profession, like we are trying to just like overcome the limitation of the banking industry here. So this feels like just about right. Well, I want to do the disclaimer that I have not been working as a lawyer for many different reasons. Once, my law degree is in Colombia. Although I have an international law background, I get bored just with like proper legal things like drafting contracts, mergers and acquisitions, reviewing terms and conditions. I mean, all of those things I do from time to time from some of the projects that I advise, but it's not my favorite part. One of the things that I really like is more at the regulatory part. So looking at how through regulation, we can push forward the adoption of technologies, but making them more safe for users, but also, and that's coin with two sides, right? Which I'm going to play devil's advocate with my own statement right now. And I feel that regulation brings sometimes an empty feeling of security for some people, which has not been in contact with the Web2 space and have this image of the Wild Wild West that we have in the past. All of this horrible news that comes into the media that sadly they always speak on the bad things and not the good ones, right? So for those people that this is the image they have about the Web3 space, I think regulation kind of like make that image a little bit softer because they will feel that it's more secured and that there is like certain frameworks that will protect them in case that something goes south. And this will allow many more people to maybe try the Web3, right? So that's the good side. That's the part that I'm really interested. That's the part that I would like to do with regulation. On the other side, there is a big heavy lift in there, especially with the regulators. Now less than before, but like try to explain how Web3 works to a person that has been sitting with the authorities for many, many years is really complicated, right? And last thing that you want is that someone regulates based on fear caused, but also again, those news that we see in the media that again, they tend to pick on the worst of the worst. But yeah, sometimes I understand the fear when we see what is happening with like market manipulation, especially right now coming from the US. I think that this is something that like plays really bad for the industry and is so heavy to control. And I guess regulation is also trying to go in that direction to have not only rules for the sake of having rules, but also having some accountability for those players that are overstepping the boundaries, just to say it like that. So there's many room for lawyers. That was a really long answer. I just wanted to say that there is like many places where lawyers can intervene. But I do agree with you. I would like to see, of course, more engineers, more developers, more like a variety of professions in the space, because we need all of those different profiles in order to make this industry successful. The lawyers paying attention to the regulation, supporting the regulators to do a framework that will not stop innovation, but at the same time will protect consumers. We also need them for the contract, the negotiations, and all of terms and conditions and compliance and all of these. But we also need the developers. I mean, like, we will not do anything without them. And we also need the people like you that is like doing podcasts and communicating and like educating people about the space, right? So I think that there's room for everyone. Some parts are more fun than others, but we need all of them.
You said you've been in Germany for about a decade now. I'm an immigrant myself, a late immigrant. I've been in the UK for almost 4 years now. How do you find an opportunity being Colombian to move to Germany? Tell me a little bit more about that background.
Yeah, I would like to say it's easy, but I don't think that any migrant has an easy way, right? Like, it's so many new things that you need to adjust. Like, fun fact, when I moved to Germany, my French was better than my English, so I barely could communicate outside. Now my French is gone because we needed to make some space for German, which occupies like half of your brain. But yeah, I guess it's challenging, not only on the Web3 space, but like in general, I think that everyone that leaves their country to go to a new country is a really brave person. I'm proud of what I have made here. Has not been easy, but I think that as long as you believe in what you do and you're authentic and you believe in yourself, like there's always a way to do what you want, right? I always take the fact that I'm a migrant, I'm a woman, and also I'm full of tattoos and I'm not the traditional lawyer that you're imagining as an advantage, because I always say like people not always know what is coming. So especially at the beginning when I was entering rooms with authorities and everyone is super serious, and then I was there with like sometimes red hair, tattoos, always on Dr. Martens, no matter what is the occasion. And it's just like a poker game, right? Like you have like your bluffing face, and then when you start speaking, they know what's actually happening, and then you start to build some respect. So I never saw being different as a disadvantage. I actually like saw it as a way to people to remember me easier and remember what I was saying.
I love that, and it's so relatable because I'm a metalhead. I also collect NFTs, the non-fungible tattoos. There's a funny story, funny aside. I was running an event in Brazil. I was managing an entire stage, 40 plus panels, hundreds of panelists and guests and keynotes. And then I needed to wrap up day one and everybody was exhausted already. So I went onto the stage and I asked the keynote speaker at that point, hey, can we wrap it up? Cause, we need to close down for, get everything ready for tomorrow. And then he turned to the audience and say, time for one last question because the sound guy needs to go home.
Wow.
Because I look like a sound guy. I'm a drummer. I was managing the stage and I was emceeing, and I'm not going to go to Rio and wear a suit and tie. It was on, shorts and a t-shirt because it's Rio, and it was funny. Now, tell me a little bit. You told me about some of these use cases. You as I was when I started enamored with the idea of transforming entire industries by the use of blockchain, bringing the data on chain, make sure that efficiencies are found in new forms of business interactions between people and companies and governments would be transformed. We didn't quite see that, but what were your favorite use cases as you develop your career in the industry in these last almost 10 years?
I have two use cases that I have been advising for a really, really long time. Like one of them and it was a tiny idea that we needed to build. And right now I'm still with them. I'm investing in them. So I have full stake and I really believe in what they're doing. And I love it. And I guess that like everyone that has heard me speak, I already know them as well, but it's Demia. The founder is Matt Jogger, which is also a really good friend of mine. But basically what they're doing is creating a data fabric via the blockchain where you can collect information. And what I like about this, it has like many use cases, right? Like we started like with the idea of collecting information in order to have the life of the auditors easier when they are reviewing carbon emissions and greenhouse emissions for the production of also like carbon credits. They can do it like faster, cheaper, and more accurate, right? Because this has like something that we call it's like the data fabric, but we also have a qualification on the data. So depending on how the data was collected, if the sensor was reviewed, the sensor was working properly, or if it was like manually collected, like all of these different ways in which the data was collected, treated, and transported, and storage as well, receive like scoring that will tell you like how much trust you can put on the data. So it was like trust network on this data that then later on is used for the production of carbon credits, which for me is massive because there's so much greenwashing that is insane as well. And it's what is like creating such a bad advertising as well for some of the initiative trying to push this forward. But if we have data that we can audit and it's right there, no one can manipulate it, we can see it, this is game changing for the industry. And you can then apply this for like many different industries. So right now, one of the things that Matt is trying to push forward is the supply chain of raw minerals. And here I have like tons of discussions with like people because they're like, well, they're going to start working with mines. And I was like, yeah, but like imagine how crazy is this? Because now we have traceability of the data. We are not going to get rid of like some players that, yes, they contaminate in the production. There is like things that goes out, but now we have the data. And this is for me game changer. And you can see like I really like this because I think that one of the things that we miss as society is, and I'm talking about like globally, is accountability. And more than ever, this is so important to create like systems that will keep people and companies accountable. And I think that on that, this particular use case is absolutely game changing. The second one, which goes in a completely different direction, I also like support what they do directly, is Ethic Hub. And this is basically because the reason that I started to look for how to enter into the Web3 space before I formally joined the foundation in 2018 was because I have always loved like punk rock and like change systems and all of these things. And I really like when I read the Bitcoin white paper the first time to just think that there was a system different, an economic system different that could be built and that will empower people. And that's what like I got like nuts about this space and I wanted to enter. So Ethics Hub basically what they did is design platform as an investment platform to empower farmers that are outside of the traditional financial system because or they don't have collaterals to access loans, or if they have collaterals, it's like a teeny tiny remote land in the middle of Narnia that the bank will not receive, or if they receive it, the interest is so big that these people will never be able to generate profits. They are basically working to pay interest and pay the loan. So they create a different system completely. So these people through the communities and the cooperative of farmers can access the money that they need to work on the land. And they are doing an amazing job. I think that Bybit also invested on them last year via the Blockchain for Good Alliance. So they have doing an amazing job. They're getting the recognition that they need, like more traction, and more traction means more farmers getting the support they need. So those two will be my favorite use cases because of the impact that they have and because of what it means if they actually like manage to scale.
I love that. And I love that the fact that this is on chain, but not overly financialized anything. Like if you think about Web3 as we've come to know it, all we did was to over financialize the internet. And even though I am a financial services guy, I worry about everything being financialized, because if we are going to tokenize everything and everything goes on chain, that means everything gets over financialized. And we've seen how rampant monetization leads us to a situation with our own data that is subpar. Just take a look at social media, right? So I'm glad you keep working on some of these non-financialized use cases, that is also my hope that we find more of that in terms of adoption. We've seen in the last 18 months a degree of acceleration in regulatory clarity, even if it's not harmonized throughout the world. Unprecedented move to regulate crypto. I'm going to say crypto in general, especially in the United States. And that obviously pushes a lot of that. Europe moved first with MiCA, and we know how now everyone is looking into MiCA 2.0 to expand on what MiCA has already achieved. What do you see as successes in this new wave of policymaking? And what do you see as things needed to be improved?
Let's start with the challenges, because it's easier. But I think that there were a couple of things that they were added into the regulation that they were not really thought through, especially under the understanding of how the technology works. But also, and I think this is like news for like everyone knows this, is there was a lot of lobby and push from like different industries there that also got reflected there. The issue we have in Europe is that you need so much coordination and so many different parties agreeing in something that sometimes that compromise is not really good. One of the things that I do not like about MiCA is the deposits in banks for stablecoins. I think that this was not really thought through. Actually, Brazil took this, and for the new regulation, they saw what didn't work here, and they actually like try to make it better with the new regulatory framework that is starting in October in Brazil. They actually like require like segregation of assets to de-risk the fact that deposits goes on into one bank. We do not have like that segregation requirement here. The other thing is that the amount of deposit that is required to have in banks is under the understanding that it might happen that everyone will have like this get and try to take away their stable coins at the same time. But this is not how stable coins work. This is not even the use case, right? Like stable coins are not, I don't see it, at least here in Europe, they are not a storage of value. Like people is not speculating with them. The value is stable, right? So this is more like a means of payment, or it just for me actually like the top use case for stable coins in Europe is to settlements when we have like tokenized securities. But we're not there yet, right? So the fact that we are requiring like those amounts of deposits for the stable coins for me makes absolutely no sense. And I think that this is also like something that I cannot say I'm sure about this, but like we can speculate about it. The banks were afraid of the impact of stable coins, so they wanted to have like their fair piece on the game, and that was taking the deposits of stable coins. Also, the deposit should be in Europe, but like what does a European bank with dollars? They do not keep the dollars in their bank accounts in the bank. They just sell it to the US. So the deposits are not even here, right? So all of these different things that you start to think about, and so like, well, this doesn't really make sense. But what I'm happy to see, and this is also on the positive side, is that we have what we call the Brussels effect. So once you have regulation in Europe, like other regions, other countries start to do, or start to also regulate. Brazil, as I said, great example. They also have like massive issues with the regulation. I think that like the requirements that they have in like capital is crazy, but they at least consider what is happening right now, and they put asset segregation, for example. There's like different things. One thing that I want to say is like MiCA is not bad per se. I think that like there are like good things and bad things, but it's still like a really new regulation. I don't think that with MiFID and some of these like old regulatory frameworks for the traditional financial assets, financial industry were as clear as they are right now. This is also a process. And I think that we are really starting there. And also it's more complicated because this is a new industry, new products, new everything. So it just takes some time to create clarity. I personally do not believe in harmonization because I heard you mentioning like regulatory harmonization. I don't think harmonization is always good because try to harmonize something. Europe might be, but outside, I don't think so because contexts are different and then you copy paste of laws from one context to another. It doesn't really work. What I do believe is in recognition. So if we have similar frameworks that have like harmonized principles, then we can recognize that the other regulatory regime, the other country, the other jurisdiction has a similar framework that is taking care of the same principles that we are, although the rules are not the same, the rules are not harmonized, and then we can work together. And this is also something that the US saw. And this is also something that is like Brazil looking at it because that's what the genius has, right? Like we need these similarities on the regulatory frameworks. So this also puts some pressure in some countries that do not have these regulatory regimes, because if you have not a regulatory regime, you won't be recognized because you don't have one. So you will need to have one at least, which is good. Also, good things on regulatory regimes that I have started to see. Colombia, my country, for example, I was advising a project there. They work not because there was a regime or a regulation or it was forbidden, but because there is not a regime. So the banks were actually like holding the wall and they will not allowing crypto to enter into the accounts. And not even that, like you just brought the crypto. It's like that they were tracking back. And if at some point these assets were crypto, then they blocked them. But there's no one that says you cannot do it. You cannot trade. You cannot have it. You cannot hold it. It's just the bank. And the hypocrisy is that they do have crypto wallets. So basically you can buy and sell with them, but you cannot trade. So that's also like really big limitations that are there by the industry, which create a small monopolies on the industry that not allowed new actors to enter in the game. So I think that regulation on those cases helps quite a lot. So the good and bad. And as I said at the beginning, I think for some people, new people outside of the bubble, is really good, at least like this safety or fake safety feeling that if you have regulation, therefore you are safe.
I love your double clicking on it for one particular reason. I'm a financial services guy. I've been in financial services for over 20 years. And working in that industry with regulators, especially, it really is this kind of false sense of security because you do have quite a lot of problems in volumes that are substantially, sometimes systemic, in banks that are regulated, that are operating globally sometimes, and they manage different jurisdictions, and they've been doing this for decades, sometimes centuries, and there's still issues, and they are grave, they are important, they are significant. And then we treat crypto like it's the Wild West because it doesn't have regulation, but is orders of magnitude more transparent than traditional financial services. So I'm with you there.
Got it. Like, I think that that's the most important thing. And that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes this regulation made them fear. Because one thing that I fight as hard as I could, and I will still fight it, although like there's not much I can do now, by the threshold for crypto should not be lower than for cash. How is it possible that like in AML and TFR we have a threshold of 10K for cash, but like what was it like 1K for crypto? That's ridiculous. I mean, like if I go with cash now and buy myself a horse, like no one can know where that money is, where the money came from, like nothing, right? Like, well, as long as it's not more than 10,000 euros, right? It's like, it's a cheap horse. Just thinking on horses because my dog was like behaving like one today. But if I just transfer to a friend 1,000 Ethereum, like worth on Ethereum, or 1,000 Ethereum, like wow, I'm a generous friend, but no, $1,000 euros worth of Ethereum, then there's gonna be KYC. Then all the AML is going to begin. Like, what they do not understand is that, like, because of the technology itself and the characteristics of the technology, we will be able to track that until the end of times, until you touch the real economy and we can grab you. And this is the other thing that I always fight. Bad players do not KYC. I mean, they will not even follow these rules. So we are compromising privacy in order of what? Like nothing. You want to freeze the assets also if you can freeze them. And then what? They're going to stay there. It's just like the whole thing doesn't make any sense. Many problems I have with like those rules, because honestly I don't see the impact. Like, I did so much work in human rights and I know exactly what is behind money laundering. Like, people talk about like money laundering as if this was the bad thing. No, the bad thing is child pornography, prostitution, gangs sent to Israel, or other like players like doing genocide, like all of these different things, right? And no one talk about these things. This is exactly what is behind those things. And the way to prevent it is not to ask Mauricio or Mariana to KYC, because we are playing by the rules. The way that we can actually like start preventing this thing from happening is like using the technology itself. Like, stop of holding the assets, just like track the assets to see where they end. Like, let's figure it out, who is behind this, which institutions are being part of this, right? And I think that all of these things that we can do with the technology are not yet put in place. And for me, that's so important also to start working with the police, because there has been like this huge responsibility put in the industry. And now some of the industry players are working as if they were the police. Are they working? They need to follow the asset. They need to investigate. This is not our job. This is the job of the police, and they should learn how to use the tools that they have in place to start like busting entrepreneurs for not KYC for €1,000, but actually like going after the people that is doing using the assets to do all of these bad things, right? So much potential and so much lack of understanding of what we can do with it.
I love that. I call it on-chain oversight. And I've been advocating in favor of regulators actually using the technology and maybe enforcing traditional industries to leverage the technology for their own benefit. I always find it amusing. There's a annual Chainalysis report on fraud and scams and all that. And they show the numbers, and then people are like, see, crypto is, rampant, frauding industry. And I'm like, why you don't have the same report on traditional finance? Because you can't. You can only see what was caught and what was fined. But the things that happened that nobody did anything about, you'll never know. Because that's obscure, and that's by design. Crypto is the opposite. So I'm happy we're having this conversation. Now, let's zoom in a little bit. Like, you've been, you moved countries, you're working in a lot of geographies. I've met you in at least 3 different countries in person, which is amazing. How do you keep yourself sane and healthy working in the industry that is insane and unhealthy?
I mean, I always think that I'm a little bit hyperactive since I'm a kid. I'm really on the move. Like, I really like to be doing a lot of things, moving fast. I'm like really about the just move fast, break things, then you fix it, right? Which I think it makes me really suitable for this industry. I have also seen a lot of people that they do the best they can. They really try, but they get stressed out, they get burned out. I think that this is not an industry for everyone. You really need to have passion for what you're doing, really believe in what you're doing, and just like the excitement. Also, I am really good at organizing my time. Like, I don't know, it's like 9 p.m. and we're here in this conversation. I actually like went for 2 hours to the gym before this, or organize my time to go and do things for myself. Walk with my dog at least like 3 times a day for like really long time. So I try to organize, even if I need to wake up early, go to sleep late, that I do have everyday time for myself. For me, I love to go and work out. I love calisthenics, boxing, all of these things, just like get the energy out, walking the dog, best meditation for me. But I also think that I have a really great partner who supports me and also like helps me to keep sane. Because I don't think it's easy to cope with me most of the time when I just like get too excited about things and just like want to burn the world and build it again. But yeah, no, I have a great partner. I have a great, amazing team. Osa Dalborn, who you also like know, she's like my left and right hand, sometimes like half of my brain also. And she's really passionate about it and about impact as well. I think that building a great team that helps you to to push this is what you need. Like, I mean, like you mentioned it, like, right? Like the reason that I can travel is because OSA is back holding the company together when I'm like traveling, networking, like educating people. All of this is, I can only do that because I have a great team. I have like 4 or 5 people working with me, and they're absolutely amazing. Like the level of commitment they have with everything is great. And then my partner, the dog, my family, I don't know. At least like I am where I am just because I have a really strong network that has support every single step I have done.
I love that. Yeah, people say that your network is your net worth, and I so much subscribe to that. We're about time, and I would love to ask you one final question. We spoke about many things, and for those listeners who, kept tabs with us until now, what do you want them to take away from this conversation? Because I think we've explored many facets of Mariana, and I really want to, what's the one thing from Mariana to the world we want to leave the listeners with?
I think authenticity will be what I want everyone to just like take from it. Like, you can be as weird as you are. There's always someone weirder than you. And I think that like the more authentic and more honest you are with yourself, like will allow you to, like will allow others to see that and to believe in what you believe. Like, I don't try to convince anyone. Like, I just like this, like, what do they want to take? I was like, I don't know. Like, everyone take whatever they want from what I said, like, right? But like, if I can say something, it's just like my only advice to everyone is always like, be authentic. Like, if you are passionate about something, just like go and burn whatever you need to burn to make it happen, right? Like, passion is like that force that make you do what you do and drive you, right? Like, I never feel that I'm actually like working. I'm just like feeling that I'm trying to make something different. Funny story, maybe to finish. Like when I started to study law, like I have always been like weird, right? Like I always felt out of place. Like I was just like a rebel. I used to have a mohawk, really loving punk rock, the first one jumping on the mosh. So when I said that I wanted to study law, like people were like, "What? Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to be the virus inside the system. I want to understand how things work, to see how I can change it, because I don't think the system is working for anyone." And I think that when I look back and see Mariana with 18 years old, I was like, damn, I was right. And I still believe that, right? I like to get all the time, like understand more how the technology works, how AI works, how everything is working, in order to understand how I can use those tools for doing something better, right? Technology is just a tool, and it really comes to us what we do with it. And I want to push the way I can. I don't believe in revolution. I believe only in the individual revolution. So I am making my own revolution, and I will try to still fight for that until my last day, I guess.
Thank you so much for being the true you here with us on the show. I appreciate you. This was delicious. Thanks for this conversation, and looking forward to running into you on a 4th country sometime soon. Thanks. Catch us online. We're on Instagram at BlockDrops Podcast, on Twitter at BlockDrops Pod or 0x Mauricio. We're on Lens at blockdrops.lens. We have a newsletter on LinkedIn. Write to us at blockdropspodcast@gmail.com, and you can listen to the BlockDrops Podcast at Spotify, iColab, Faberbund Tech, and all of the other major streaming platforms. Yay! Shout out to Mariana for her authenticity and energy. Don't forget to leave the ratings on your favorite player and check out the merch store at blockdropspodcast.xyz. This is all for today. Stay rare, stay weird. LFG.